everyone, and welcome back to the Unnamed Sports Show. I'm your host Ryan, joined by my colleagues Jason and Jerry. How you fellas doing?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I couldn't be better. Brownies are in the playoffs. A Week 18 matchup doesn't matter. I don't know if life could get any better at the moment.
You get a week
You know,
off, man.
literally,
You guys
Uh,
basically have a bye week.
literally starting Jeff Driscoll this week. Uh,
Joe Flacco, the GOAT, sitting out for a week.
I
Who
was
would
gonna
have thought?
say, yeah. Anyone that had Joe Flacco resting for Week 18 for the Browns for the playoffs on their bingo card, you just let me know. But
I thought he'd be resting, just not not for a playoff game,
not
just
for a
sitting on his
team.
Yeah,
couch doing nothing. Yeah.
Not for a team.
back.
Not for a team. Well,
Yeah.
as you can see, I have a change of decor behind me. I
Ooh la
got
la.
pictures. This is for my first ever. My mom made that. I had this framed. This is for my first ever NFL football game. Uh, Bears versus Vikings when I was a massive Brett Favre fan. And then we got, sorry, Nick Chubb over here. Dogs
Very
playing
nice.
poker here, and then the banner here.
Very
Sorry,
nice.
but just thought I'd point that out.
Where'd the flag go? Where'd the flag go?
The flag's still in here. I got to figure out a way to incorporate that as well. We'll figure something out, but we can't waste too much time here. We're doing a little shift around. We're going to put our favorite segment up front, mainly because when Jason put this together, we didn't realize that some of these games started at 7 o'clock. But Jason, take it away for Jason's Moonshot Bet the week.
To my dreamers, to my hopers, to my believers, we're gonna get in this pretty fast because again, these games start at 7:10. So Wizard and Cavs. We have Donovan Mitchell, 25 points. We have Jared Allen, 15 points and 10 rebounds. We have for the Bucks versus Pacers game, another game at 7:10. We have Damian Lillard at 20 points, Giannis Antetokounmpo at 30 points, Tyrese Halliburton at 20 points and 12 assists. And as Ryan has right there, that's a check. All right.
Box. Lock it in.
All right. So get those in as soon as possible, and we'll continue on with these later games. So at 8:10, we have I'm gonna botch this, but Empyrean Sengun.
Sure.
I think I got that. 20 points, 10 rebounds. We have for the 10 o'clock games, we have Heat versus Miami. We have Anthony Davis, 25 points, 12 rebounds. Bam Adebayo, 20 points, 10 rebounds. We have Tyler, my hero, 20 points. We have LeBron, the GOAT, King James, at 20 points. We have for the Magic versus Kings, we have Sabonis at 10 rebounds and De'Aaron Fox for 25 points. And they all are wondering, well, Jason, what are the odds? Yeah, they might be on the screen, but they're wondering. You went from 3,000, you lost. Tell them how many yards we were away. 14? Was it 14 for
14.
Cedric Tillman? And we would have had a
yards.
1 up on there. We would have been 1 and 7. So you know what? We tripled the odds. We put them up there at 10,723. And we go to the moon. And we fly high tonight. Don't worry. Wednesdays we hit.
Wednesdays we hit. Now, for all the tens and tens of viewers we have out there, if you want to go place this
Being
bet,
generous.
you got four. Yeah, very generous. You have 4 more minutes to do so till 7:10. But this was another edition of Jason's Moonshot Bet. We were happy to put it up here at the front of our program. And again, 4 more minutes to put that in before tip off, plus 10,000 odds. And of course, this is going to be the week that we do hit when we don't give anybody enough time to actually put the bet in. I'm sure that is exactly what is going to happen. But this has been Jason's Moonshot Bet of the Week. Jerry, hit it again.
Ball. We
We
love
love
that
that.
basket.
Skip.
Ball. All right, now forget about basketball.
You know what? Shout out to us for being adaptable. By the way,
Yeah.
we had to
Exactly.
move some segments around for this one.
We're
Hey,
so quick, so
So
fast.
flexible.
And
thank you.
honestly, shout out to it's not me because Jerry is the one that controls all of your visuals you see, and Jason is obviously the one that runs that segment. So I
Wrecking
get
your
to
pocket,
sit and
baby.
watch.
Let's go.
I almost ruined it by talking too much about what was behind me instead of just going right into it. But anyway, into the sport that matters right now, the NFL. Amazing, crazy week 17, and we're coming down. I mean, football's almost over, guys. Isn't that so sad? We only got like what, like 6 more weeks of football total.
Yeah. They say
And
that
don't worry, draft
seasonal.
season.
They say that seasonal depression happens in the winter. No, it's when the
Football list
NFL is not in
depression.
season.
Exactly. Exactly. But let's start with last Thursday night. Cleveland Browns at home, last home game of the season, last Thursday night game of the season. They host the New York Jets, Joe Flacco and Elijah Moore's former team. And the Browns absolutely dominate. You'll see on the power rankings this week, but Joe Flacco is on a tear. He is now the first quarterback since, I believe, maybe Bernie Kosar, even maybe before that, maybe Brian Sipe, to have 4 300-yard passing games in a row. He has 13 touchdowns, which is more than 4 different teams and tied with 2 different teams in the NFL right now. He is absolutely dominating. And then you, on top of that, you pair that with the number 1 defense in the NFL. And this is quickly becoming a team that no one is going to want to see in the playoffs. They are absolutely dominant, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And uh, the connection that Flacco and Njoku have quickly created. I mean, he had over 100 yards receiving in the first quarter. You
Yeah,
know,
way more than 40.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Way more than 40. Way more than 40. You know who you are. But on top of that, Flacco throws for over 300 yards against a defense that hasn't given up a 300-yard passer the entire season, and throws for over 300 and doesn't even have his number 1 target. I mean, he's absolutely on fire. He's running this offense better than anybody has run the offense this year, better than anyone's run the offense since Kevin Stefanski's been the coach of the Cleveland Browns. And Baker had a great season that year, the last time he went to the playoffs. Joe Flacco looks like he has this offense down better than Baker ever did, certainly better than Deshaun or Jacoby ever did. And it's been quite refreshing to see an offense that literally can probably the second or third most explosive offense in the NFL right now. I mean, they can make a touchdown happen on almost any play, and it's not something that I thought I'd ever see as a Browns fan. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So we move from one uh, topic that is really exciting to the Saturday games, a topic not so exciting. The Cowboys defeat the Lions 20-19. And I think all of us have a little bit to say about this game. I'll start off here, but the Cowboys end up winning by 1 point on a very controversial call at the end of the game. And I think everyone knows what happened there at the end. Decker reports to the referee. The official does not see him reporting. He assumes it's 70 that's reporting. Everyone's already talked about all this. They throw the completed 2 point conversion. They win the game. And then they throw the flag for illegal touching. It's completely ridiculous. But the part of the game also that not as many people were talking about is the Cowboys could have ended that game earlier as well. You had a phantom tripping call that called on Cowboys tight end when Aiden Hutchinson for the Lions clearly sticks his foot out to try to trip him. If tripping even occurred, that would have made it 2nd and 2, and a first down would have pretty much ended the game. Now, of course, they get the penalty. Mike McCarthy decides to throw the ball, which is ridiculous. Clock management, and then they go down. They other penalty happens, and then Dan Campbell goes for 2 from the 7-yard line. So you have penalties that are called that are BS penalties followed by terrible coaching decisions on both sides. But the whole point is the NFL referees should not be determining the ends of these football games. He played on the field. There shouldn't be this controversy. And if you ask me, I think we need to have full-time refs. We need to have a full school or some sort of training program for these refs. And you need to have a way to, oh, you suck this week or the last couple weeks, you're getting demoted and you're going down to the XFL or you're going down to college football. And now these other people who are doing really well have an opportunity to come up. So we have the best of the best reffing on Sundays. So I'll let Jerry go ahead. What's your thoughts on this? But I know I kind of talked for a long time there, but I mean, it's just ridiculous.
No, it absolutely is ridiculous. First off, I think it's ridiculous that you touched on it, that the refs even made that call, because he clearly comes in and reports. The guy that they say reported wasn't even close to the ref when it happened. As much as I want to say that the refs did screw them over, the Lions still had an opportunity to take it into overtime. They could have kicked an extra point. Anybody in that situation after the penalty is called kicks an extra point. I think Dan Campbell was just so mad, so fed up, so overheated that he kind of let the moment get away from him.
He talked about it in the press conference. Did you hear that?
I did not catch the press conference after the game,
So
actually.
he said he told his men that they were going to march down the field and score a touchdown and go for two no matter what.
Even with
So
the
he
penalty.
was kind. Well, again, like that's his inability to adapt to the situation. I
Yeah.
agree, but his reasoning was he told the players they were going for two, which is why no matter what he was deciding to go for two. But continue. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and trust me, I think going for two the first time is 100% the correct decision. You always go to win the game because, you never know what happens. Even if you don't get it, there could be a penalty called on the other team. It just happened to be an unfortunate circumstance for Dan Campbell and his squad to have the penalty go against them. Just, in my opinion, 100% the wrong decision to go for two after the penalty. Just kick the extra point, take it into overtime. And then, again, they had another shot because the Cowboys did get a penalty. They didn't convert it. The Cowboys get a penalty. They get it back. I think get back at the 4 because it goes half the distance to the goal line. But then they call a play, a tight end out route to their, I think, second or third string tight end, where he's at the 2-yard line. He's not even in the end zone. What kind of play are you calling there? Like, at least put the ball in the end zone. So I don't agree. I don't agree with anything that happened. Obviously, the refs made a horrible call, but I don't agree with any of Dan Campbell's decisions apart from going for it for the first time.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you on that. Dan Campbell definitely screwed up at the end there, but at the end of the day, I think I mean, I understand what you're saying, and that's important to talk about. But at the end of the day, the refs are determining the outcomes of games. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Like with how there should definitely be some form of schooling, and definitely full-time refs. Like you pay, I think that would rest half of the people's minds because you probably pay them a little bit more. They're full-time employees.
a lot more,
Yeah,
right? You would
right.
think. Like,
You would think.
you could probably pay these guys like maybe not NFL minimum, but half of what NFL minimum salaries are.
Right.
Like.
I mean, you could even probably pay a $1 billion company,
Yeah.
billions dollar company. Like
You could probably pay, minimum, like you just put all officials at minimum NFL salary levels. Like these guys are
Yeah.
making, $750,000. Why
Right.
not?
that incentivizes them to do better.
And they can get fined.
Right.
Now-
and
now
then they
they
can start getting
Well, they
fined.
can get
Exactly.
fined. They have to go to the press conference and talk about the decisions they made on the field and take responsibility when they screw up. They can get demoted. They can get benched for other people. Like, make this a thing. Like, why is this? These people are freaking lawyers and teachers and cops that on Sunday come and are reffing biggest sports, those biggest sports games in the entire world. Like, you're
That doesn't make
talking
any
about. You're talking about tens of millions of viewers. You're talking about millions of dollars on betting that now is getting thrown out because of poor officiating. I mean, continue, Jason. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, I
it's
completely agree. Like
100%. It's absolutely ridiculous.
there's definitely a better way for this to have gone, and we continue to see the same thing year in and year out and year in and year out, and there's no accountability for it. In fact, the players are penalized and charged, and coaches get fined, and GMs get fined. It's like everybody gets fined if they want to talk about it. And to me, that just seems like, hey, you're killing freedom of speech, like for sports. Like, yeah, okay, you don't want to. Some of these players' words can mean a lot to more than the most person, because there are insane fans out there that can start posting death threats, stuff like that, where it gets a little too far, right? But like, if someone makes a mistake and you call out the mistake, that, well, what's the issue with that? Simple as that. Like, there should be more accountability. So how do you do that? You give them more incentive to do better, and then if they do wrong, then bam, you can put a fine on them. Stuff like that. I don't know. There's definitely a better way for reffing to be, especially at this level of popularity the sport has and the money that the sport brings in. Like, why can't we do this?
100%. And I think also you would have less players coming out, or coaches or GMs coming out and talking about the referees and feeling like they have to say something, because now you have like an official body
Yeah.
that represents them. They have to talk, like they can speak for themselves. And now you don't, like these players feel like they have to say something, otherwise nothing's going to happen.
Right.
If
Right.
you have some accountability, you might get that change. So I know we spent a good amount of time talking about that, but it's definitely an important issue. And the NFL, for all the amazing things that the NFL has become and everything amazing that the NFL is, they're constantly growing like this. Viewership is becoming insanely high. It's amazing. Get this shit figured out. Sorry, get this crap figured out, because
Cut it.
yeah, cut it.
Cut the tape.
But wait, you can't get this stuff figured out, because this is what gets people to stop watching. This is
Yeah.
what kills audience. This is what kills your continued growth. So, anyway, moving on. We had the Bills and the Patriots. Bills 27, Patriots 21. This game was interesting because there was 3 turnovers in the first quarter. All like Bailey Zappies threw 3 interceptions before he threw a completion, I believe, which is absolutely absurd. Jason, what did you think about this Bills game? And did you see think the Bills, I mean, they didn't really capitalize on many of these turnovers. The game ended
Yeah.
up being kind of close.
27-21. Like, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, crazy. Not only that, like the kick return at the beginning of the game, like I think the Bills didn't come to play. Like, I'll be other than their defense, special teams looked a little sketch, offense looked a little sketch.
Looked really sketch. I think
Yeah, like
Josh Allen threw for under 150 yards.
yeah, which I mean, it's kind of how their offense is going, but you're not going to be able to run on every team, and if you're not able to have a balanced offense in the playoffs, good luck. You're not going to win many games. Like you're one and done probably. But I mean, still in a situation where it's like, I mean, we'll talk about this more later, but it's either 2 or nothing. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, not a great showing for the Bills, who were on a pretty hot streak, I think, and I don't have much confidence if going after this game, going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I would have to not just agree. I think that the Bills, they looked, everyone crowned them as the new hot team when they destroyed the Cowboys. And since then, they have not looked good at all,
Yeah.
offensively specifically. You know, even in that game, they had 225 yards on the ground, but Josh Allen threw for like 99 yards.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
he hasn't looked particularly good since the Chiefs game, really. Like,
Well,
people,
you gotta think they changed up their offense. So like how normally Josh Allen was before, it was ball is in his hands every play. Like he has the ball. He gets the time to work out his issues in the game. Like he'll throw an interception. They still give him the ball back. He's throwing it. Now it's literally run, pass. He doesn't have that much opportunity to work out those issues. And he's not Josh Allen's great, don't get me wrong, but he's not Drew Brees accurate Peyton Manning style quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not him. Like he's a playmaking quarterback. And if the ball's not in his hands as much to figure out in game how to play, those accuracy issues are going to show a little bit.
Do you think that it's possibly a with the turnover issues he had earlier in the season? Do you think it's been a trust issue maybe between his head coach and him, just not letting him have the ball in his hands and just switching up to a running style?
No, I think it's good.
Oh no, you finish your thought. And then
I think we would have the exact same thought. I think it's 100%.
No, I'm just joking.
I think it's 100% that they want to be able to run the football better, and that just relieves a lot of pain from him. And you get look at Joe Brady's offense. Joe Brady's offenses in college. Like, yeah, they threw for a lot, but they were also running the ball very well, and there was playmaking from the running back before there was those deep passes in the offense. So I think that's what they want to do, and it's what's best for Josh Allen. It's just you got to work out through the kinks of it, and it's not consistent right now. So once they get it figured out, it's going to be great for him. But right now, it's just not what he's used to.
Yeah, and in that time frame, they're lucky to have played teams like the Chargers and the Patriots, where, I mean, your defense just has to stand on the field, and they're probably not going to score very much. So, either way, the Bills, as we'll talk about soon, are in a precarious position as of the moment. Moving on, the Bears go in and absolutely dog walk the Falcons. The score is a touch misleading in that there was a moment the Falcons could have come back, but Taylor Heineke threw yet another interception, and Justin Fields was able to turn that into a touchdown. And the Bears right now have won 5 of the last 6 games, one of the hottest teams. I can't remember. What was the team they lost to? Oh, yeah, it was the Cleveland Browns. But they look extremely hot right now. Jason is going to give a big "I told you so." We'll see where it goes. I was on the Fields train at the beginning of this year. I fell off the Fields train when he looked pretty unremarkable, and several of these last few games, he's proved me wrong a little bit. And I think if you get a decent offensive line with a solid run game and another weapon on the outside, their offense could potentially be one of the most explosive in the NFL. Jerry, what did you think of the Bears' rout of the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I was kind of in the same boat on the Fields train, fell off. Now I'm fully back on it. I think if they take Caleb Williams with that number 1 pick, they are stupid because they have a special player in Justin Fields. It's crazy what happens when you let a guy play his game. Instead of trying to formulate him into a pocket passer, they're actually letting him, kind of improvise. The dude's fast as hell. His 40-yard dash is insane. Let him get out of the pocket. If you can't find DJ Moore or Cole Kmet, let him take off. If I think he's developed the wherewithal to not take these big hits, to not get injured, and he's also able to use his brain and know when he has to improvise. And like you said, if they are able to develop a huge offensive line, a great offensive line with a weapon like Marvin Harrison Jr. or I don't know, is Rome Odunze? Is he coming out this year?
Yes.
Could be a good fit in that offense too. If they They got some good draft picks.
This is my biggest thing. You think Caleb Williams does more for that offense compared to Justin Fields than Marvin Harrison being on that team? Because you get Caleb Williams, you risk not getting Marvin Harrison Jr.
You probably aren't getting Marvin Harrison Jr.
You're probably not.
No. Here's the thing. So this would be back-to-back years where they have passed on the quarterback of their choice for something else. And don't get me wrong, I don't think they should get rid of Fields, and I don't think they should draft Caleb Williams. I think you allow a team to send you whatever you can get, similar to what the Panthers sent you last year.
It's going to be more, actually. No, it's more. Because Caleb Williams is considered the best prospect out since Trevor Lawrence, and then before Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck. So they are expecting to get more for that pick. So you're telling me 3, 4 first round picks and a second?
Yeah.
That's Marvin Harrison. That's the best offensive lineman in this draft. And then another second round pick to do whatever the heck you need to do. Sure up some parts on the defense, get more offensive linemen, find someone in the free agency, trade, maybe make another trade. You know, like you get so many more options for maybe a step up at quarterback, maybe one step up at quarterback instead of securing the rest of your team, in my opinion. So,
Real, real quick before we move on, who is the number 2 pick right now? Do you know?
The
Drake
Commanders.
May.
The Commanders?
Oh,
Commanders,
we're talking about my bad. I thought
Interesting.
you were talking about what player is supposed to be.
No, interesting. Like it's because like it's the Commanders, the Patriots,
Cardinals, I believe,
Cardinals.
at 4.
Cardinals.
Maybe
And
not
then
anymore.
Giants.
Yeah, so it'd just be
Yeah.
interesting to see what, because you would want to be able to still have like the second pick so you can get Marvin Harrison.
Yep. And you
but
can.
also get okay.
And the reason why is because there's multiple teams that want that quarterback. So you are saying I either keep this spot and someone drafts ahead of you, or sorry, you either trade this to the person that's behind you, or you move up one more spot for your guy, for the guy.
Right.
Because I've been looking at Drake May. I don't know, like his film is so confusing. Like it's literally him running around in like a circle. It's like I either see it's Zach Wilson or it's one crazy play. Like it's either really bad or really good, and you don't want. To me, Caleb Williams is better than Drake May by that much for you to trade a whole package for him. That being said,
I'm not saying that, but my question is like the further back you go, the more assets the team probably has to trade you. But the problem is you now don't get to that second spot because you need the second spot to get Marvin Harrison Jr.
r-
So
it
you
Mm,
might be 3. It might
yeah,
be 3.
not necessarily.
Because if that, I mean, are
need
you
2 or 3.
you need 3? I think.
I think
Because
3 at the lowest you need, because the Patriots are definitely going to take. Well, I don't know, man.
who
What
has
if they
who
go, what
has
if
the
they go
second
get
pick?
somebody? What if they get Russell Wilson to come in, or what if they get, like
You're gonna have a new coach,
yeah.
They're not going to do that.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
GM. They're gonna want their own guy, not Russell Wilson or
Because they're
unless
not
or Kirk Cousins.
they're not a veteran quarterback away from being a winning team. They're
Right.
speaking about the Patriots and the Commanders, they're just not. They are a lot of pieces away. They need a young guy to build around. Now the Cardinals at 4 is interesting because they need a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. They have Kyler Murray. They
Right.
have a pretty decent defense. That's the pick you need.
Washington, though, that's okay. We can talk about all this. Sorry, we've
No, I
derailed
do. I love this shit.
This is your favorite
This
part.
is awesome.
We'll get into that here in a few weeks. It's interesting. Let's kind of speed ram through these. The speed round through these. The Colts beat the Raiders 23-20 in a game that looks much closer than it really was. The Rams eke out a win over the Giants 26-25. Cardinals beat the Eagles. Jerry, go off about the Philadelphia Eagles.
I am tired of the Eagles crap. They're dropping down to 14 in my rankings this week. I know Ryan had them at 15 this week. He went even lower than I did. Dude, how do
They're
they
not good.
They are
They
not
are not
good.
good.
They are not good. They can't even win their division, dog. Their defense can't stop anybody. They're not winning their division. The Cowboys are not losing this week. But
No, I wasn't. My face was like, your team's not winning your division. My team's not winning my division.
I know what my team is. I know we're Jarrett Stidham. We're starting that, man. The Eagles they could use Jarrett Stidham. They need a spark on offense. They need something,
Yeah.
dog.
They
They need something because they can't even beat the Cardinals
Hot
at
take.
home. At home, dog. They let the Cardinals, the 4-11, or sorry, 3-12 Cardinals walk into Philadelphia. Kyler Murray runs it up and down the field on them, dog. What are you going to do in the playoffs against a team like the Niners who kicked the bleep out of them earlier this year? Or a team like the Cowboys who also kicked the bleep out of them earlier this year? What are you going to do against them? They're going to get absolutely dog walked, man. It's embarrassing for Philadelphia. I'm done lying about the Eagles. They are bad. They are a bad team right now.
Then they're going to limp into the playoffs here. So, next game, Saints beat the Bucks 23-13 in a game where Baker Mayfield looked terrible for about 3 quarters, and then it's just one of those, like, even Tom Brady struggled against the Saints, especially in the regular season when he was at Tampa. There's something about the Saints over Tampa. They just have that sort of edge over them. Like, even when Baker was finally getting hold of it, he throws a beautiful, like, 60-yard bomb to his guy, who then just falls and fumbles the ball and gives it right back to the Saints. It's like, and then they get the 2-point conversion. They score a touchdown, get the 2 to go down 8, and then Godwin stepped out of the back of the end zone. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's just unlucky game for them. They play the Panthers. I highly doubt they lose. Commanders lose to the 49ers, not surprising. Jaguars beat the Panthers in a very unexciting fashion. Tepper gets
DJ
fined a bunch of
Beathard,
money for
baby.
Tepper gets fined a bunch of money for pouring drinks on a guy. Jason, how'd you feel about your Jaguars beating the 2-15 Panthers?
We did what we had to do with the backup quarterback CJ Beathard coming in. We ran the ball. I wish we would have run the ball, against any of the last 4 or 5 teams we've lost against. But hey, here we are. Again, we won. One more win and we're in. That's all I care about.
On to Tennessee.
Take care
Speaking
of
of
business.
Tennessee, oh, sorry, I skipped a game there. Probably the most surprising game of the day. The Dolphins got absolutely destroyed by the Ravens, 56-19. The Dolphins just won the Fraud Bowl last week against the Cowboys. Come into this one now. They don't have Jalen Waddle or Raheem Mostert, and the game. I mean, it's just one of those games where it spiraled downhill very quickly at the end of the game for the Dolphins. But more to Baltimore. Baltimore absolutely just dominated. I mean, completely dominated. It was extremely impressive to see. Uh, just quickly through the rest of these. Texans beat the Titans. Will Levis got injured in that game, which is unfortunate. Um, CJ Stroud looked good. Steelers beat the Seahawks. Broncos, Jerry, your Broncos beat the Chargers 16-9. What do you think of Jared Stidham's first start this? Right, I think it's his first start this year.
It doesn't matter at this point. Season's over. We have no shot of making the playoffs anymore. I guess Sean Payton was correct in his benching of Russell Wilson. As long as he doesn't have to come in as a backup next week, he won't get hurt. But yeah, I mean, did what we did earlier against the Chargers this year. Just absolutely dominated them on the defensive side of the ball, and then the offense barely puts up more than their average. I don't know. Season's over. I'm done with this year. Move on.
Fair enough. Russell Wilson should fake an ankle sprain in practice, so he has to get paid. Chiefs beat the Bengals 25-17. A game that was pretty close, but Chiefs were able to pull away at the end. And then the Packers dominate the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. And finally, George, I mean, it looks like the Packers have struck gold again, getting their 3rd Hall of Fame quarterback in a row. I mean, we'll actually see, but he's thrown 30 touchdowns this season, which is extremely impressive in your first year starting for any team. So that was a recap that we took a while to get through the recap that time. Lots of side conversation, but gotta love it. Talking a little draft, talking a little playoff,
Yeah.
That time of the year. It's the end of the 2023, now 2024 NFL football season. Now it's time to take a look. What did this mean? What did week 17 mean for this postseason that is right around the corner. Let's take a look at the playoff picture. In the AFC right now, we have the Ravens at the 1 seed. The Browns officially have locked the 5 seed. I'm just jumping all over. I just want to talk about the Browns as much as possible. The Dolphins at the 2 seed, Chiefs at 3 seed, Jaguars at 4 seed, Browns at 5 seed, Bills at 6 seed, Colts at 7 seed. If the playoffs were to start today, the Colts would play the Dolphins, the Bills would play the Chiefs, and the Browns would play the Jaguars. The Ravens would be on a bye. Jerry, I think this is actually the Bills and Dolphins are going to switch spots, and the Texans will come in. But I think that's about what the playoff picture is going to look like. You had an interesting playoff prediction that we were talking about before the show started. What do you think is going to happen here in the AFC?
Yeah, so I think with the Dolphins Bills game I think it's on Sunday night now. That game is winning in for both, or for the Bills. Sorry, the Dolphins have already, right? Dolphins clinched the spot. Yeah, they clinched the spot.
Yeah.
So Bills have to win and get in. The Dolphins losing and getting absolutely embarrassed on Sunday against the Ravens was the absolute worst thing that could have happened for the Bills. They should have Mostert back. I believe they're going to have Waddle back for this game. It's in Miami. I want to say it's in Miami. So no cold weather advantage for the Buffalo. Dolphins are absolutely going to walk the Bills this week. Tua's going to throw it all over the field. Tyreek is going to be blazing on that field. This means with the Ravens sitting their starters at the 1 seed, locked up, nobody's got to play. Tyler Huntley's playing this week. Former Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley is playing this week. Steelers are going to beat the Ravens. And I believe it's the Colts that have to win, correct? I think the
Doesn't
Colts.
matter.
It doesn't
They
matter.
just can't tie. They can
just
just
can't tie.
They can't.
So obviously the Colts-Texans game is not going to end in a tie. If I have to eat my words on that one, I will. I'm just calling my shot that the Colts and Texans will not end in a tie.
Brave of you.
Bills are not making the playoffs. It'll be Ravens, Dolphins, Chiefs, Jaguars, Browns, Steelers, Texans. That's my prediction.
Texans would
jump
be
the
above
Steelers,
the Steelers,
but yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Quite a wild prediction there, but honestly, I think we're getting to some playoff clinching scenarios here soon. But the Bills are in that precarious position as we were talking about. If they win against the Dolphins, they win the division, and because they beat the Chiefs, they will automatically be the 2 seed in the AFC. The 2 seed, meaning most of the games will run through Buffalo. If they lose, they will probably not make the playoffs, which is quite an absurd contention. Jason, what do you think is going to happen this weekend when it comes to the AFC playoff picture?
I think we're going to the playoffs. I think my Jags are going to win and be in that 4 seed. I do think the Texans beat the Colts, jumps them up to 7. Do think the Bills do end up beating the Dolphins. So I think it's the exact same as yours, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Bills up to 2, Chiefs, Jags, Browns, Dolphins. Wait, is it Dolphins, Browns?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, it'd be Browns, Dolphins.
Browns, Dolphins, even if you guys lose?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Browns, Dolphins, and then the Texans.
It's exactly what I think is going to end up being too, Jason. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. The AFC playoffs are going to be absolutely absurd with all the backups and it's going to be so much fun to watch. Let's jump on over to the NFC side. What do we got over there? Still at the 1 seed, you got the 49ers, Cowboys at the 2 seed, Lions at the 3 seed, Buccaneers at the 4 seed, Eagles at the 5 seed, Rams at the 6 seed, and the Packers at the 7 seed. Not much changing on this one for me. I have the Buccaneers winning against the Panthers, so holding on to that spot. Everyone else kind of staying the same. Everyone up top kind of winning. The Rams are sitting their starters because they will have the 6th seed no matter what. And then, so this weekend it's Sam Darnold against Carson Wentz in the 49 the 49ers Rams game. Isn't that crazy?
I didn't
Now
even
we're
know
talking,
Carson
baby.
Wentz was a Ram.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. What everyone was hoping to see. And then the only change I see happening is the Packers getting hopped by the Seahawks. I think the Bears beat the Packers in the last week of the season, and the Seahawks win against the Arizona Cardinals, and they would be in. Jason, what do you see happening in this NFC playoff picture?
Who do the Packers play this week?
Bears.
Packers will play the Bears. Duh, Bears.
Get them out of there. Get them out of there. The Packers dropped out. I am still going for who do the Seahawks play?
Cardinals.
Seahawks play the Cardinals. I just said all this. Are you listening
I
when I
know.
talk?
I'm
Come
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry.
He's just so
I'm,
excited.
I'm taking the test. I'm taking the test, bro. Yeah, no, let me get the Seahawks, and it's back to my original playoff picture. Buccaneers win, Eagles in, Rams, Packers. I don't think the Eagles are gonna win this week.
Even if they don't win, they're still going to be basically, unless the
The Cowboys
Cowboys
have to
lose
lose,
to the Commanders.
Yeah, not
Uh,
happening, bro.
Yeah.
Keep them here. Yep.
So
Kick out the Packers, in with the Seahawks.
that's exactly how I felt. Jerry, what do you see happening in this NFC?
I hate to
playoff
beat a dead
picture?
horse, but I agree 100%.
Yep.
Yep.
It seems pretty locked up.
It's very interesting that we are locked in on the Bears beating the Packers when the Packers have perennially dominated the Bears over the last 20 years.
Give me
True.
Chicago.
True, but the Bears have a top 5 defense right now, and
Yes.
the Packers have literally the 32nd best defense in the NFL. It is the worst. They have an offense that can run with anybody and a defense that can lose to anybody, which is why they only beat the Panthers by 3 points. And it was by far Bryce Young's greatest game of his NFL career. Baker Mayfield's greatest game of his NFL career, also against the Packers this season.
You know what? I'm going to switch it up just for S's and G's. Give me the Packers over the Bears just because you said all that. Packers stay in the 7th spot.
All right, you're wrong.
That's your
You're wrong.
We got to have a little adversity on the show, right?
I suppose. But this is the NFL NFC side of the playoff picture. We got week 18, Kevin, and it's coming fast. I was going to say a different word there, but it would have sounded not great. Moving on. We got some playoff clinching scenarios, some pretty wild stuff. Jerry, do you have it pulled up right now? Give us some of these NFL playoff clinch. Give us the craziest one you see, because there's some pretty absurd ones out there.
Was it Buffalo? No, it's Jacksonville. This one is wild. So obviously Jacksonville wins the division title with the win. We know that. Or if they tie and Indy and Houston ends in a tie, they win. Jacksonville clinches a playoff berth in 2 scenarios. First scenario, Jacksonville tie plus Pittsburgh loss or tie. Sure, whatever. That's
not too crazy.
Not too crazy. The second scenario, does not matter what Jacksonville does. Jacksonville can win, lose, or tie. Pittsburgh loss plus Denver loss or tie. We're talking about a team that's not even in the playoffs. Plus, Houston, Indianapolis does not end in a tie. So that can mean either team wins. As long as it does not end in a tie, Jacksonville's in the playoffs. Doesn't matter what they do. That is wild.
What makes it
crazy?
What makes it wild, the reason is because it creates like a 4-way tie where each team has like beaten the other team. And so for whatever reason in that scenario, the Steelers are the team, or no, I'm sorry, Jacksonville is the team that is propelled to that top spot. So
we were the chosen one.
Yeah, well, we'll see how chosen you guys really are if you can beat the Titans. Some of the other exactly. Some of the pretty generic ones. Jacksonville winning in, Buffalo winning in, Buccaneers winning in, You're looking at Seattle or Green Bay winning in, and then everyone else, I believe, requires a little bit of help.
Houston and Indianapolis, that
Oh
winner of
yeah,
that
sorry,
game
sorry,
is
yeah,
winning in.
yep. Houston, and it's for sure either team, whatever team wins that game is in the playoffs.
Mhm.
So that's going to be fun. That's going to be a Saturday night game. That's really exciting. But there's a lot of, I believe there's 20 teams that are still vying for playoff positioning right now in the NFL, which is tied for the most ever and tied with 2006, I believe, was the year going into the last week of the NFL. So it's a uh, pretty absurd scenarios going on. An amazing year in the NFL. But now it's time for tied for the longest running segment on this show. We're going to do our newest version, Week 18 NFL Power Rankings. And please remember, these are the power rankings. It's generated through a multitude of equations and mathematics and means and averages and other statistical words, and it's thrown into this machine. It's spit back out. It's not, we didn't make, like, it's not like we just said, oh, this. No, it was mathematically generated, and these are the power rankings. So let's start at the back end. The teams that don't matter that are vying for the first pick, and actually the Panthers had the first. Bears had the first pick via the Panthers, but the rest of the teams. Panthers at 32, Commanders at 31, Patriots at 30, Chargers at 29, Titans at 28, Jets at 27, Giants 26, Falcons 25. I didn't finish my sentence there. I meant to say the rest of these teams are vying for the second pick in the draft. But these
Hey,
all
Falcons,
teams.
Falcons could still win the division. Let's
That's
not forget that.
that's true. If the
And
Falcons
it's not that
win,
crazy of an idea either.
if the Falcons win and the Buccaneers lose, the Falcons will make the playoffs. But man, that team is terrible.
Ugh.
That team is so bad to watch. It's
Atlanta
unbearable.
on the list for a reason.
Yeah, they're awful.
Ain't that right, Jerry?
Mm-hmm.
They are awful.
I think
Moving
Trey
into
Young
the
watches
next-
the show.
Probably.
If he does. All right. Moving on. Sorry.
I'm sure he watches a show that has 25 subscribers. Moving into that next level at 24, we have the Cardinals, 23 the Vikings, 22 the Raiders, 21 the Bears, 20 the Saints, 19 Seahawks, the Broncos at 18, and the Packers coming in at 17. There's a couple playoff teams in here. The Saints, Seahawks, Packers, those are, and Vikings technically are all still alive for the playoffs. But the Packers or Seahawks will likely make it. But again, teams that just really aren't that dominant, aren't that great. Moving into teams that will likely or control their own destiny when it comes to making the playoffs. We have the Bengals at 16. That's not one of them. The Bengals actually have been eliminated. The Colts at 15, the Steelers at 14, the Buccaneers at 13, the Eagles at 12, and the Texans at 11. And now we're going to unveil our top 10. Coming in at number 10, it's Jason's team. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jason,
Let me hear a little Duval.
Duval.
We're like 2 weeks away, bro.
Sorry.
Just
Sorry.
let me have the moment. Right?
I couldn't help myself. No, but the Jaguars, especially with the backup quarterback, stepped up in a game that was a must-win, a good turnaround game after several lost in a row. How do you feel about your Jags going into the last week of the season, as well as most likely going into the postseason this year, Jason? All right, Jameis Winston plays for the Saints, so
I think job's not finished.
what's there to be excited about?
What's
Job's
that to
not
be said
finished.
about? Exactly. One more W. I think we run the ball a little bit more. Hopefully that takes us with a little hot streak going in. Maybe get some of those injury people back on from the defensive backfield, and we're at our best in the playoff time. Looking to get smacked by the Browns. Just kidding.
Hey.
Just kidding.
but not really.
Revenge tour, baby.
No.
Hard to beat a team twice. Revenge tour. Let's go.
Number 9, back into the top 10, the Kansas City Chiefs after they beat the Bengals in a pretty good game. Defense really showed up. Their offense still can't be seem to be found. Jerry's favorite team, Kansas City. What do you see from them going into the postseason? They've won the division for the 1,000th straight year. It seems like. Uh, do you think that this offense is going to be able to click and figure it out, or are you like me, hoping, praying, wishing, and believing they're going to be a one and done come playoff time?
Well, I am like you. I hope the Chiefs fall on their faces every year.
For other reasons.
and
probably.
for other reasons, sure. However, anything is possible when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. And there's a reason they're still in the top 10. Even after all their miscues this year, they still win the division. They're still at the 3 seed. And it's just painful to watch every single year. Their defense is actually pretty decent, so they have that to rely on.
Top 5,
Even,
top 10, I'd say.
oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco is really good, even though he looks like a freaking cartoon running the ball. But if they can keep it on the ground, yeah. Freaking Forrest Gump out there, dog. Look, if they can keep the ball on the ground, get the ball in Patty Mahomes' hands, let him improvise, do what he does. Maybe Travis Kelce will get a spark from his girl in the playoffs, and they might make a run. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the Super Bowl just because it's Patrick Mahomes and it's that kind of year. So.
I would hate to see that, but it definitely can happen, especially, when you have that good of a defense and you have that good of a quarterback and it's the postseason. I mean, those are kind of like the two things that you need, and they have it. So moving on to number 8, a team that's been really hot this back half of the season, the Los Angeles Rams. Matt Stafford, what a resurgence after his injury. Puka Nacua likely going to set or has already set. I can't remember.
28 yards away.
How many?
28 yards away.
28
It's
yards
like
away.
4 catches and 28 yards away from both records.
He's getting that. So he's going to win he's got Carson Wentz throwing him the ball. So who knows? But good chance he gets that in a game that neither team really needs to win. The 49ers likely would be resting their starters as well. But more on the Rams. They've had such a resurgence the back half of the season. Everyone thought, Rams are going to stink. They're in rebuild mode again. They've lost too many players, they've quickly and quietly become one of the hottest teams in the NFL with one of the most explosive, dynamic offenses with 2 rookies that are absolutely balling out in Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams. So watch out for the Rams. They can keep up with anybody. They almost beat the Ravens. It took Ravens a no call blocking the back punt return in overtime to beat them. So Rams at number 8. Number 7, we have the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins fall down 4 spots this week after getting routed by the Baltimore Ravens. They lose a massive piece as well in losing Bradley Chubb for the season with a torn ACL. Jason, does this offense have enough juice and enough firepower to sustain them through the playoffs, or losing such a key player, really the cornerstone of their defense for this entire season? I know they have
Christian
Jalen
Wilkins.
Ramsey back, but what'd you say?
Christian Wilkins, baby. Just because you can't get pressure from the outside doesn't mean you can't get it from the inside. I think they call themselves Chocolate and Thunder. Lightning and Thunder. I don't know what they call themselves, but there's a duo pair in the interior line that has been playing very well for them.
What?
About 10 sacks a piece per person. They're a combo. They have a good nickname. You also have Jerome Baker. I think he's not healthy this week, but should be back for the playoffs. Anyways, and then Jalen Ramsey. Now the biggest thing, what's Xavier Howard looking like?
Not
Xavier
expected to play.
Like
This week, I don't know about
This
the
week?
playoffs. Playoffs, he might be back, but
that's the biggest thing. You get Jalen Ramsey back, you lose your other quarter. Like They have the defense, I think, to still sustain. It just sucks that they have now lost both of their outside linebackers. So yeah, it's something that they're going to miss. Depending on who they play first is really going to be the big cue if they win the game. I don't think they continue past that though.
Well, if they lose to the Bills, they will play the Chiefs, the first game,
They win.
and if the Dolphins beat them, you think?
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be amazing. And if they beat the Bills, they'll play the winner of the Texans Indianapolis game.
If it's the Texans, yikes. If it's the Colts, they win.
We'll see. We'll see. Dolphins at number 7. Coming in number 6, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, who have had a little bit of a roller coaster of a season home, look unstoppable. On the road, they look very stoppable. But they are a team with a dynamic weapon in CD Lamb, top 3 wide receiver in my opinion in the NFL this season. He is darn near unguardable. He's very talented, and Dak looks very comfortable throwing him the ball. Looks comfortable in the pocket. It'll just depend on. Well, now they have basically the 2 seed locked up as long as they beat the Commanders. So playoff pretty much goes through Jerry World, except for the NFC Championship, assuming that the Niners continue to win. So Jerry is this Dallas Cowboys team, especially with that win over the Lions. I mean, if you have to go to Dallas to play all these games, that's not something I don't think any team in the NFL wants to do that.
No, I mean when you're undefeated at home all season long, you don't want to go and play the team that's undefeated at home all season long. Especially, they're not going to lose this week. They're going to lock up the 2 seed, win the NFC East. The team that they'd have to play is either the Seahawks or the Packers. We're talking about a Seahawks team that they beat earlier in the year in the AT&T Stadium, and a Packers defense that can't stop anybody right now. CeeDee Lamb would go for 180 easy on that
I was
secondary.
CeeDee Lamb, the
dog.
offensive player of the week.
Yeah, like
I digress.
a scary team going into the playoffs for sure. Yeah, their home field advantage is just something else, and Dak Prescott's not out of the MVP conversation just yet. It's
Yeah, he is. It's locked up.
I don't.
It's going to
think
the
he's
quarterback
probably-
of the number 1 team for sure.
I think he's.
But I see what you're saying.
I think he's the only other player that could get it from Lamar. Maybe outside of CMC, but CMC's not playing this week, so
And neither is Lamar.
yeah.
So I don't know. I see what you're saying, but I think it's done deal after
Oh,
beating the Dolphins by that much and throwing for that many touchdowns and that many yards. So,
Mhm.
but the Dolphins come in at number 6, number 5, a team that beat the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, but seems to be struggling since a little bit. The Buffalo Bills hop a spot mainly because the Dolphins drop out of that top 5. Buffalo again, a team that looks good, a team that looks poised to some extent defensively these last couple weeks to make a run, which is what you need. You need a strong defense going into the playoffs. But Josh Allen really needs to figure out this new offense, and he needs to be able to step up and make big plays coming down the stretch. He has the ability. A lot of people are really high on the Bills right now. We have them at number 5. They're a good team. I just think they have. It just depends on what team decides to show up that week. Is the if is it the team that beat the Cowboys that showed up, or is it the team that got 3 turnovers on the Patriots in plus territory all in the first quarter and only put up 27 points and only beat them by 7 points in the entire game? That sort of team is not going to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes. That sort of team is not going to be able to beat Lamar Jackson or Joe Flacco and the Browns. I don't think so. It just depends on who shows up at the Bills. Look, when they're at their best, they look to be one of the scariest teams in the NFL. At number 4, we have the Detroit Lions. They are above the Cowboys. I actually, in my personal ranking, had the Cowboys above the Lions, but I understand why the Lions ended up above the Cowboys. Jason, what did you see from the Lions this year? And what do you think of the Lions here at number 4, and if they're posed to make this kind of playoff run?
I think this is a team that is probably your scariest bet to the 49ers. They have an identity. They all play for together harder than anyone. So if you get their best game, they have weapons and some weapons that don't even get used a lot, like Jameson Williams. If he plays his best game to pair with Amon Ra, and then you have Sam Laporta, who's been the best tight end this year, dangerous. Dangerous team. You got two running backs that both can go off at any moment. You just got to get consistency from Jared Goff and some solid, better defensive play than what they normally do. And that team looks dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Lions can be extremely explosive on offense. You know, you go back to that Broncos game. Sorry, Jerry, but Jared Goff throwing 5 touchdowns. They have weapons all across that offense. They look very, very good. Coming in at number 3, the Cleveland Browns. You're talking about a team that has been all over the board at the beginning of this year, but these last 5 weeks, we've found an identity with Joe Flacco, bro. He has looked absolutely unstoppable at the quarterback position. He
Except for on the
looks. What'd you say?
I said except for on the sidelines.
Oh yeah, he's falling asleep. He's so good. He's falling asleep on the sidelines. It's absolutely
Bro, that's the
unbelievable.
only break he gets from his kids. He's got to get a nap in when he can.
Exactly, exactly. But
Sorry.
But in all seriousness, what the Cleveland Browns have done this season is nothing short of extraordinary, in my opinion. And that I am a Browns fan, obviously, but it's not just because they're 11-5 with a chance to be the first 12-win season since the second 12-win season in Browns history, and the first one since the 1980s, but because you're talking about a team that has had to start 4 different quarterbacks. You're talking about a team that has nearly 30% of its team on IR. And yeah, we're about to have our 5th starting quarterback with Jeff Driscoll starting this weekend. You're talking about a team that's lost both of its starting offensive tackles and one of its backup tackles. You're talking about a team that has lost its number one offensive weapon in Nick Chubb, and a team that has lost their starting quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who they paid $230 million to. You're talking about a team that defensively last year was one of the bottom 15 teams in the NFL, even with all the talent they had, and a team that has suffered severe injuries back there too, to players like Grant Delpit, to Denzel Ward all season, to Greg Newsome this season, to Juan Thornhill, who's been in and out of the lineup. I mean, you're seriously, there's so much that could have derailed this season, that could have made this season what the Jets season turned out to be, which is a 6-10 season and soon to be probably 6-11 or 7-10 season. But instead, Kevin Stefanski has the boys turning it around. They bring in someone like Joe Flacco, who, it's a meme. I mean, it's literally his career is a meme. Is he elite? Is he not elite? Joe Flacco, bro, with Stavi and all that stuff. And now he's thrown for more touchdowns in 5 games than certain NFL teams have the entire season. I know I'm going off a little bit, but it's been incredible to watch. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, enjoy, love this, because this isn't something that happens all the time, and it's been absolutely fantastic to watch. And I really think they could make a run at the Super Bowl this year. You know, that's not just a fan talking. That's with the defense they have, and if Joe Flacco can maintain this level of play, I think they can beat anybody. So
Yeah.
I agree.
Did you see the video that the Browns, I think they posted it on Instagram. It's a video of Joe Flacco just walking in the locker room. And they said all he does is win in the stadium, referring to his Ravens days.
heck yeah, heck
So,
yeah,
all is forgiven if you win one now.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And something interesting too, or not something interesting, something funny too. I've watched it probably 7,000 times. There's a video cut right after the Bears game of uh of Joe Flacco, like not highlights, but him since he got to the Browns, and a couple of highlights and a couple just like video shots of him paired to Taylor Swift's "Wildest Dreams." You know, and it is really funny, but it also just gets you hyped gets you excited. So, Cleveland Browns coming at number 3. I've talked enough about them today. It's just been amazing to watch. But coming in at number 2, the 1 and 2 spot haven't changed in a while. We got the San Francisco 49ers. They absolutely destroyed the Commanders this weekend, and they look pretty unstoppable. Jerry, I know your mom's a massive fan. I don't know if she's in the chat today talking smack or anything, but what do you think
Gonna
of the
message me.
49ers? What do you think of the 49ers? And the NFC runs through San Francisco.
Yep, the NFC goes through San Francisco. I think it's pretty clear who the top 2 teams in the NFL are, at least in their respective conferences. You got the 49ers, and then don't want to give away the reveal, but the Baltimore Ravens are number 1.
Dude,
Yeah.
No, the 49ers are incredible. Really lucky for them that Trent Williams wasn't out for an extended period of time after that Ravens game, because he just makes such a big difference on that offense. He is, in my opinion, the glue that keeps that offense together, the best player on that offense. So if they can keep him healthy throughout the playoffs, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, I mean, I don't see any scenario where the 49ers, I'm going to eat my words on this, I don't see any scenario where they don't make the Super Bowl this year, barring a serious injury. I think they're that good. They
wow.
have demolished everybody this year except for a couple of AFC North teams: Browns, Ravens, Bengals. They lost to the Vikings. They were without a couple of guys, but if they can stay healthy throughout the playoffs, definitely going to be seeing them in the Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are pretty fantastic all across the board. The only way to stop them is to really get pressure on Brock Purdy and make him make some bad decisions. And you saw in two of the main games this year where you've put a lot of pressure on him. He hasn't quite risen to the occasion. It is only his second year. He definitely can turn that around, and he is a good quarterback. But coming in at number 1, the best team in the NFL right now, and it's not particularly close. It is the Baltimore Ravens. You hate to say it if you're an AFC North fan of another team like me, but the Ravens are fantastic. They've locked up the division. They've locked up the 1 seed. Lamar Jackson has pretty much locked up the MVP, and this is the 1B, if you will. If the Browns are 1A, this is the 1B defense in the NFL, and in a lot of people's minds, the number 1 defense in the NFL. And they're very good all across the board. They do not have a weakness on their team, and unless you can get a bunch of pressure on Lamar Jackson, because he's a fantastic quarterback. If you let him sit back there, he drops to kind of a middle of the road quarterback if you get a lot of pressure on him. But a lot of teams haven't been able to do that. If you can, that's when you have a chance to take down the Ravens. But they are just absolutely fantastic. Jason, what do you see out of the Ravens this year, out of Lamar Jackson? Clearly they're the number 1 team, right?
Yep, consistency. You see it day in and day out. I mean, they come in, they play, nothing wows you, nothing goes crazy. Everybody's just consistent play, and they continue to increase that consistency at a higher level. So they've only increased in skill, and then I think you're starting to see players like Zay Flowers show himself, even a backup tight end like Isaiah Likely, showing that he can be a top tier tight end as well. So the offensive line has protected their guy. Their guy has only a lot of people wanted to call him a running back coming out, but he's proven this year that he can play pocket quarterback and win games. So, and he still has his legs to use. So, I think we'll see a little bit more of that when it comes down to playoff games, and I think we'll see the best of the Ravens in these weeks to come.
Yep.
100%. 100%. The Ravens top. Go ahead, Jerry. You about to say something?
I was just gonna say one thing I've noticed about the Ravens. They obviously have a lot of great weapons in Lamar, Odell, Zay Flowers. They should be getting Mark Andrews back for the playoffs, I believe. They can put up all the stats they want, but they just do a great job of controlling the game. They do a great job of controlling the pace and playing to anybody's level. They can beat you in a shootout. They can beat you by suffocating you with the run game and just total ball possession. They can kind of do everything, and it's pretty impressive to watch.
They have led in the fourth quarter of every game this year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The only
And
team,
it's like, how did this happen? Like, you get to the end of the fourth quarter, you're like, how are we actually
Yeah.
getting beat by 21
Yeah.
now? Like, it's
Yeah.
like,
it's absurd. The only team that's beaten, and this is what Rex Ryan was saying on ESPN, and it's very true. The only team that's beaten the Baltimore Ravens are the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Browns beat them, but it was because they made these mistakes coming down the stretch. You know, and it's been incredible to watch them. Um, I hate to watch them, but it's been incredible. They've been fantastic. And they top our power rankings for yet another week. This has been our NFL power rankings. These are the definitive power rankings. And don't you forget it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll see you here in a second. And welcome back to the Unnamed Sports Show. I'm your host, Ryan. We're joined by Jason and Jerry. And something I didn't say to start because, things change. And when things change, you forget things. And when you forget things, the order and sort of the flow of the show changes. What I forgot to tell you was that you can follow us at Unnamed Sports S on all of our social media. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us after the fact. You can see us wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll upload almost as soon as the show ends. So thanks again for joining us today. If you're catching us later, thank you for joining. And again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We really appreciate all of the support. Moving on, week 18 of NFL games. This is the last week of regular season football. This is the last time all 32 teams will be playing on a weekend. It's absolutely crazy how fast time flies by. I feel like just the other day it was the Browns and Jets playing in the Hall of Fame game, and now look, it's week 18.
nice.
We're here.
We're
We
moving.
made it.
Bittersweet.
Let's just focus on the sweet part. Let's this
I
year.
like that.
Let's focus on the good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like making the playoffs.
Exactly. Two of the three of
Yeah.
us probably in. And honestly, if you would have said at the beginning of the season that two of the three of us made it and one of us didn't, everyone would have thought it was the Cleveland Browns that didn't make it. But we're the only ones truly locked in. So let's go. Starting off, you got Steelers at Ravens. What?
I would have probably said Denver, but
Yeah, me too.
I'm not talking about the three of us. The three of us knew that the Browns would be pretty solid this year. But if you were to generically poll a random person on the street and say, you have the Broncos, you have the Jaguars, you have the Browns, two of these teams made the postseason, which one did not? Everyone would say the Cleveland Browns. Because unless you are a Cleveland Browns fan or a strong follower of football, everyone would assume it's the Cleveland Browns because we've sucked for the last 20 years. So
Fair point.
that's all I was trying to say. But we got some exciting games week 18. We got some games that will decide seeding, decide playoffs, decide what our super wild card weekend's going to look like. We have games that'll decide futures for people's lives, draft picks, everything. Tons coming down to this week, and we start off on Saturday with the Steelers at Ravens. Steelers -4. The big playoff implication for this game: Ravens already have the 1 seed locked up. The Steelers, they win, plus a couple of other things happen, and they're in. Basically, they win, Bills lose, Steelers are in. Jerry, how do you see this game going?
Uh,
Ravens benching their starters.
Ravens
Officially.
benching their starters. That's why you see the -4 next to the Steelers there. I do think the Steelers are going to win this game. I honestly take the Ravens on the points. I think it's going to be a field goal game, last second field goal. But it's Ravens
Are
are
they
Ravens are benching the starters.
all their
That's why
starters? Or
I
just-
think they're benching everybody.
okay.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a 2-week break going into the playoffs. But yeah, I think the Steelers pull this out. It's do or die. If I know anything about Mike Tomlin, it's that he's gonna have those guys ready to play. He does every week. Somehow, again, another plus 500 season for Mike Tomlin. I don't think he's ever had a losing season in his entire career. Hats off to him. He is one heck of a coach. Definitely.
8-8, baby.
Hey, didn't make the playoffs. But yeah, no, Steelers win this game. Again, field goal at the end. It might be by 1, 2, or 3. They're not covering. I don't know what the over-unders are. I apologize for not putting them up. I should have done that. Yeah, Steelers win this game, and that's it. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know. They're the Steelers. They can do it.
The backup offensive line
Yeah.
for the Ravens is not going to be able to handle the Steelers defense.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Tyler Huntley might be a decent quarterback, but he's going to be running for his life the whole game. If they can't score more than 14 points, just
Wrap it up now. No, 100% I agree. I don't think the Ravens really much care about this game. They have the 1 seed locked up, and they are not going to do anything to risk any of their key starters. The next game, Saturday night, massive game in the AFC South. Texans at Colts. Texans 1-point favorite. Basically a pick 'em game. Jason, what do you see this one going?
I have the Texans, and they definitely hit that. So bet the over, or sorry, bet the line.
Take the points.
Yeah, take the points. Thank you.
Point.
The Texans, CJ Stroud is definitely going to show up. I think his best game we've seen so far. Nico Collins going to go off. Actually, you know what? I forgot to also say for the Ravens, OBJ. Some of these players are going for their contract money though, so I doubt. Anyways, doesn't matter. Texans Colts right now. Texans. We're gonna get CJ Stroud, and he's gonna have his best game. I think he locks up Rookie of the Year with this game, and ends up making it to the playoffs.
I think the Texans win this game as well. I think the Colts are just outmatched offensively. Moving on, Browns and Bengals. Nobody cares about that game. It has literally zero implications, but I think the Browns win. Vikings at Lions. Lions -3.5. This one sort of has playoff implications. The Lions are locked in at 3 seed. They cannot move up or down. The Vikings, if they win, they have a couple different scenarios in which they could make the playoffs, but they probably won't make the playoffs. Jerry, real quick, where do you see this one going? I don't think the Lions are benching anyone, but they definitely can no longer. Well, I guess they could get the 2 seed.
They can get
They
the
could
2 seed.
they could get the 2 seed if Dallas loses, or if Dallas loses. But
Yeah. Well,
That's
the
gonna be a
Eagles
long
would
shot.
have to lose too then.
they don't have the tiebreaker over the Eagles. No, they don't. They
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah, I don't
So
think so.
yeah, so they could, but they would need both the Eagles and the Cowboys to
Yeah.
lose, which is extremely unlikely.
Yeah, just real quick, the Vikings are in QB turmoil right now. They're starting Nick Mullins again this week. The Lions just outmatched them in every facet of the game. Lions are just a better team. If they do play their starters, they're gonna dominate. They might only play him for like a half. I really don't know the Lions scenario. I don't know what they're gonna play for here. I think it's in their best interest probably to sit their starters and just kind of keep everybody healthy. Kind of stay at that 3 seed. But again, if they stay at the 3 seed, they got to play the Rams, and nobody wants to play the Rams right now. So I don't know.
Matt
If the
Stafford coming home game.
Yeah. If the Lions play their starters, take the Lions on the points. If they don't, take a money line. They're gonna win this game. That's all I got.
Jaguars at Titans. Jaguars 5-point favorites on the road. Jason, win and end scenario. How do you feel about your Jacksonville Jaguars going to play the Tennessee Titans?
I was a little nervous earlier last week. I won't lie to you because Derrick Henry is my dad. All right, I've seen him so many times run through our defense, stiff arm everyone. 10 people, they get back up, try to tackle him again, get stiff arm down on the ground again. AJ boy, I'm talking about you. Anyways, sorry. Oof, oof. All right, AJ boy, I'm talking about you specifically. I really think they're going to be checked out though, so I do believe that he wants to trade. He doesn't really care much about this team. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not shooting really much for a difference in the draft pick either. So I don't think we'll get much effort from the Titans, and I think we end up winning this game.
Moving on, Jets at Patriots. Patriots 2-point favorites in a game that means literally nothing except draft position for the Patriots. Falcons at Saints. This one has a little bit going on. The Falcons are 3-point underdogs on the road at Saints. Saints favored by 3. What happened?
Jason.
I'm
You good?
Sorry. Yes.
You good?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that stream. Falcons at Saints. Saints 3-point favorites. If the Saints win and the Buccaneers lose, the Saints are the NFC South champs. If the Falcons win, the Buccaneers lose, the Falcons are the NFC South champs. This game is basically going to come down to praying. The winner of this is praying that the Panthers can beat the Buccaneers. But I think the Saints win. I think the Falcons are also in quarterback turmoil. I don't think Taylor Heinicke is the solution. Desmond Ridder clearly is not the solution. And Derek Carr plays just good enough to make you think he's decent, and then keeps your team right at that 500 level. Never really good enough to win you anything.
Yeah. The Saints. Saints can get a wild card spot still if
Mhm.
Seattle and Green Bay lose, and the Saints win.
So it's still a pretty outside shot.
You got Cardinals, Bear.
Uh,
We'll see.
It's a potential. It's a potential, which would be crazy if 2 NFC South teams made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Next game, Buccaneers at Panthers. Similar. Buccaneers win and end, but Panthers are absolutely atrocious. So the Buccaneers should win this game. Broncos at Raiders. That doesn't mean anything except for draft positioning. Bears at Packers. Packers 3-point favorites at home. They have, as Jerry alluded to earlier, absolutely dominated the Bears over the last several years, last several decades, actually. But the Bears are really hot right now, and the Packers defense is terrible. Jerry, how do you see this game going?
I said when we were going into the playoff scenarios and playoff picture, the Bears were going to beat the Packers, and then I did a 180.
Is he 180 again?
Give me the Packers. Packers have just dominated the Bears.
With the points or money line?
Give me the points. Give me the points.
Ooh.
Yeah. They did it. They did it earlier in the year. They did it week 1 against the Bears in Chicago. They're going to do it again. Jordan Love is a lot better than we gave him credit for earlier in the season. I am terrified. That the Packers defense is going to give up 40 points. I just pray that Jordan Love puts up 45. That's all. That might happen, actually.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, I know. I'm with Jason. I think the Bears defense is too good and Justin Fields is playing too well. But I appreciate you sticking to your 180 turnaround decision. So good for you. Moving on to the next game, Eagles 5-point favorites on the road in New York. The Giants, Tyrod Taylor's been playing decent lately, but I think the Eagles, for as bad as the Eagles are, they've already clinched this playoff spot. I think that they probably win this game, but it's a typical Eagles game where you think they should win by more, and they end up winning by 3 points on a last-second field goal. Seahawks at Cardinals. Seahawks minus 2.5. If the Seahawks win, they need the Packers to lose, and they're in. Jason, how do you see this game? Only 2.5 point favorites to the 4-12 Cardinals.
Well, I mean, we saw a tough game from the Cardinals last week, so I mean, they're probably going to still be playing their best. I think Kyler Murray is shooting for a security in his job. Not saying that he doesn't deserve it. It's just that I think they're in a period of time where they could look for a trade similar to the Bears. That being said, they wrote him off, and he ain't right back. Let's go. I got the boy to win the game.
That would be Geno Smith for those.
That
watching
would
at
be
home.
Geno Smith.
Seattle Seahawks, Chargers at Chiefs at Chargers. This game means nothing. Chiefs have locked in the 3 seed, and the Chargers stink. The Rams at 49ers, another game that means absolutely nothing. The 49ers have locked in the 1 seed, and the Rams have locked in the 6 seed. 49ers backups, 4-point favorites against the Rams backups. Cowboys at Commanders. Cowboys win, and they win the division as well as officially get the 2 seed. They play a 4-win Commanders team that is absolutely terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible. They are 13-point favorites. It's one of the biggest spreads we've seen this season. Jerry, I'll let you get the Bills Dolphins game. You can talk about that one. I'll talk about this one. Cowboys are going to win this game by 50. Go ahead and put your money on it now. Hit the over because the Cowboys are going to score all those points because it's a bad team. And when the Cowboys play a bad team, they win by 1,000. It happened. You can guarantee it. Take it to the bank. Bet your mortgage on it. Don't really do that. But Cowboys win, and they lock up that 2 seed, and most of the NFC playoffs will have to go through Jerry World. Moving on, last game of Week 18, a huge, massive game for both teams. Bills, 3-point favorites on the road at Miami. Jerry, who wins this battle? I mean, you already talked about it earlier, but who wins this battle of the AFC East?
Just real quick on the Cowboys Commanders. They were in this position last year, and the Commanders ended up beating them. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. But the Cowboys are definitely going to win. I got in the Sunday Night Football matchup last.
Stop for a second. The Cowboys are not going to lose to the Commanders. The
All I'm
Commanders
saying is
are
it happened last year.
terrible. They are so bad at football. If Jacoby Brissett plays, there's a chance. But if Sam Howell is the starting quarterback for the Commanders, the Cowboys are going to pick him off 4 times. I mean, it's not even going to be close. So anyway, go ahead. Bills and Dolphins.
Bills Dolphins.
Miami
Last game,
for the
last
division.
regular season game of the year. Sunday Night Football. I said it earlier. The Ravens pumping the Dolphins was the worst thing that could have happened for the Bills. Give me the Dolphins by 2 scores. Give me the Dolphins by 2 scores. Give me the over. I don't even know what the over is because it's going to be a shootout. Something's going to happen with the Bills. Josh Allen's going to get a little too cute, too many turnovers. Dolphins are going to take advantage, take control, win by 2 scores in this game. It's in Miami. They are not going to let their fans down. They're going to win the division. They're going to lock up the 2 seed.
Yeah, as much as I'd love to believe that, I just think without Bradley Chubb and I think with Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert coming off injury and already have guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, I just think the Bills lock this one up. But I appreciate your conviction and your
It would make for an interesting story.
yeah,
What?
it would. It
If the
would.
Bills
Jason,
miss the playoffs,
yeah,
yeah, that's crazy.
it'd be a pretty crazy story. I mean, they've started off so poorly and then turned it around big time. And then if they just end up missing by this much, and the freaking Bills just go win so the Steelers can't get in, please, please. We already got 2 AFC North teams. I don't want a third. Because inevitably what will happen is the Browns will have to play the Steelers, and for whatever reason we just can't play the Steelers. So just Bills, go take care of business. All right. Well, that is the game. The games for Week 18, the last week of the NFL season. This is it. These are the last set of games until we determine what the postseason is going to look like. And I, for one, can't wait to watch them. If you're still watching this show, this has obviously been our longest one, and we just now finally finished up NFL ball. We're going to quickly go over the NCAA football, and then we'll get out of here. But starting with the New Year's Six games, the Cotton Bowl last Friday. One of the worst showings that Ohio State's ever had in a bowl game in the history that I've ever watched them. I mean, you could even take the absolute like the game we got destroyed by Florida, the national championship. I would pick that game over this game because at least it was for
No.
something. I would. I
Mm-mm.
would.
Nope.
I would
I cried tears.
100%.
I cried tears.
I cried tears too, but at least it was for something. At least we had players out. At least we looked competent offensively. We couldn't go score touchdowns, but we could move the ball a little bit. We had the opening kickoff for a touchdown. We had some excitement in the game. This was just pure and total terribleness on the offensive side of the football for Ohio State. And I, for one, I was so angry with how we performed. Jason, my fellow Ohio State fan, I mean, what did you think of this game? I know you said you disagreed with my take on the national championship game, but
But
it was just terrible.
I mean, like, yes, it was a terrible game to watch. In the most recent years, I would agree with what your statement. But the pain I felt on that day losing to Florida and then losing them in basketball too, terrible pain. Anyways, to the real point. The real point. Dear Ryan Day, quarterback gets hurt. Unfortunate. You get a backup quarterback in there, Lincoln Keyholtz. You don't give him a chance to be successful. You don't try to throw the ball. You just run. You go. First of all, you go. Once Devin Brown gets hurt, you keep him in the game, and you go wildcat formation, and he's out there limping. He's just a body. Get him out. Go get him out to the doctor. Let him heal. Maybe he comes back. I don't know. Something happens. Whatever. Get him out. Let Lincoln throw some easy plays with him. Quick slants, some screens, something. Get him motivated. If he makes a mistake early, by the end of the game, he's ready to play and throw the ball. We have 5-star weapons at receivers, and we're not throwing them the ball. For why? It don't make
Didn't
much
any
sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
It was absolutely terrible to watch. And as an Ohio State hater, I feel like, Jerry, you probably pretty happy about Ohio State losing, or did you have money on this?
Actually,
I've turned the
He-
corner a little bit.
he's coming to Ohio State fan. I'm
He
gonna
is.
have to buy him a jersey.
I'm not a fan.
I'm gonna have
I'm
to
not
buy
a
him a
hater.
jersey the way he was talking.
No, I hate to see poor judgment calls and poor coaching. It's especially
Agreed.
from an esteemed program like Ohio State. Like you have Ryan Day, supposed to be one of the best coaches in the country. He
terrible.
can't call a game. He can't do it. Like he looked awful calling this game. It was
I was-
abysmal to watch. I was like sitting in my chair, falling asleep watching this game, dog. Like it looked awful. Awful.
They did a stat. I think the last coach to, I forget who it was. But it's been a while since the head coach that's been calling plays has won a national championship. So just a thought. It might be time to hang it up and be a head coach instead of an offensive coordinator now.
I
Mm.
agree. I agree. But enough about Ohio State. How embarrassing. Moving on, Saturday at noon, the Nittany Lions took on Ole Miss. A game that was competitive there in the first half, but Ole Miss pretty much ran away with it in the second. To be honest with you, when I was watching this one, I wasn't truly that impressed with either side. I just feel like Ole Miss made a couple of bigger, just a couple of big plays that Penn State couldn't stop. But in the first half, and even throughout the whole game, Penn State was getting good pressure defensively. It just seemed like they couldn't figure out on offense. What'd you make of it, Jerry?
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. I think I predicted this earlier that Ole Miss was going to win this game, just because I don't really like James Franklin as a coach. He can't coach in the big spots. Proved it again. Can't do it. Do you guys think he gets fired this year, or do you think they're going to stick with him? Nah, yeah.
No, they'll stick with him.
Yeah, stick with him.
I agree.
This
Just who are they going to get that's better? There's not a lot of options out there. And
Right.
when he's
It's
winning
a
10, 11 games a year,
I think a
it's
lot of coaches in the Big Ten right now are going to be saved, at least the good coaches. Um, because the division is getting harder next year, so
mm,
you don't want to be going through changes right now because you start losing now, and those better Pac-10 teams come in, and those recruits start looking at those teams, and they see the turmoil happening with you. You're pushing yourself back a couple more years than normal.
yep.
I agree. And also, who wants to go? I mean, Penn State's in the middle of nowhere. Like, who wants to go out there and coach? I mean, literally, there's nothing. An hour in every direction, there is nothing.
Oh,
And put it on
there it
mute.
is.
Knocked it down and put it on mute. But um, yeah, I don't see them firing James Franklin. Moving on to the most embarrassing game in the largest deficit, I believe, in bowl history, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia beat Florida State 63-3. Now, everyone thought Georgia was going to win big, but to Florida State's defense, they had a bunch of people enter the transfer portal and a bunch of people sit out. So you got to feel bad for them because a bunch of their players decided not to play against a Georgia team that felt like they had to go out and prove that they should have been in the playoffs. And then I mean they may have just proved it, Jason. I mean, what did you take of that game? Make of that
I
game?
agree. Georgia should have been in the. Georgia's team is good enough to be in the playoffs. I don't know if they deserve to be in the playoffs after losing, but that team was definitely good enough to be in the playoffs. If not the best team in the nation. Unfortunately, they got beat.
Yeah.
So here we
Yep.
are.
And it's exciting now that we're moving to a 12-team format where teams like
Yes, sir.
Georgia will be
And
in the
and not
playoff.
only that, you get Florida State in there, and then players aren't transferring out because they don't feel like they are unjust.
Yeah, I think they were
And then
playing
players
what their
play
third
the game.
strings at like most of their
Yeah,
positions. Yeah.
Yeah, their
yeah.
backup quarterback got hurt.
Yeah.
They didn't have their running back that carried them the game that their quarterbacks did get hurt. Like just a lot of bad, just a lot of bad.
A lot about it all the way around. And another game where two teams that did not deserve to be on the same field together. You had Oregon take on Liberty, who
Liberty,
was the
liberty,
undefeated,
liberty.
who was the one Power Five or non-Power Five school that went undefeated this year. Oregon wins that game 45-6. There was like a moment in the first maybe 3 minutes of the game where you thought, oh, "Hey, Liberty's here to play."
Liberty went right down the field and scored, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then flash forward to 10 minutes after that, and
Mhm.
the game was over. And Bo Nix, a quarterback that will get drafted to somebody this year, and I think somebody that he'll probably go to a pretty decent team, maybe a team that he can back up somebody for a couple years and then come in and make a start. Who knows? But he played very well this entire season, and Oregon truly was one of the better teams in college football. It would have been great again, another team that would have been fun to see in a 12-team playoff go and potentially make a run. That was the New Year's Six. These were the bowl games that really, and there's a conversation to be had too that a lot of these bowl games just don't mean what they used to mean, and it's unfortunate because you get games like this where people are sitting out, people don't give a crap, people are coaching like that it doesn't matter because in all honesty, if you're not in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. And so that was unfortunate. But
Mhm.
New Year's Day, these two games for the college football playoffs were almost as good as last year's first round games. They were both games were absolutely fantastic. I think last year's first round was a touch more exciting just because more offense, but still, both of these games, it was
the wire.
stellar,
Awesome.
stellar.
Awesome games.
The first one, the Rose Bowl, Alabama takes on Michigan. Michigan and I mean, talk about a team that basically everything on special teams went wrong for them. They had a defense that was absolutely smothering, and then Alabama comes out in the second half and just literally grabs the game. And it looks like Alabama, yep, Michigan just couldn't make the adjustments. Alabama's going to run away with this one. And then lo and behold, JJ McCarthy comes out there and just boom, marches right down the field. And there's a play that was made in this game where McCarthy steps up into the pocket and he rips one over the middle, and the linebacker jumps up and tips this ball an extra 6 inches in the air, maybe an extra foot in the air. And Roman Wilson climbs this ladder and literally rips this ball out of the air. It was absolutely absurd. And if that ball is tipped just a little bit higher, it is game over. If Roman Wilson does not climb the ladder there and make that catch at his game, there's a safety waiting to just catch this easy ball right to him. But Wilson catches it. They're able to punch it in, tie the ball game, go to overtime. And then in overtime, Michigan, 1, 2, 3 runs the Blake Corum touchdown. Alabama gets the ball. They get all the way down to the 4-yard line, 4th and goal. And there's a clear running pass, but the snap's low, and he just runs into the line of scrimmage and he gets stuffed. Game over. Michigan wins. Jason, what did you make of this game? And I mean, hard to deny that the committee didn't get it right, because it was such a
They absolutely
fantastic
got it
game.
right.
They got it right. They did it right. I think these games were better. I enjoyed them a little bit more than last year's, other than the Georgia. Well, that probably is because of Ohio State. Anyways, perfect game. Blake Corum, number 1 running back coming out in the draft. I don't know why he's not ranked there by a lot of draft experts. He carried the game. Roman Wilson did have that amazing play. Maybe had the best play of the game, but I think Blake Corum, if he's not on that team, they're not where they are, suit up, ready to win a national championship.
I agree. And him and that defensive line.
That
Defensive line, 5 sacks and 6 tackles for losses. Jerry, what'd you make of that defense being able to really step up to Alabama and outside of a little bit in that third quarter and early fourth, shut them down pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about all the miscues on the special teams for Michigan. Alabama had a few miscues that they've had all season. The snaps were just way low, right? Jalen Milroe, this is the first time all season that he's been held under 150 yards. You said it. They got to him 5 times in the first half. Absolutely stopped anything that he could do. He could not. He was having trouble scrambling out of the pocket. They were in his face sometimes before the ball was even in his hands from the snap. It was. They were just firing on all cylinders. Yeah, JJ McCarthy had a great game, but man, if the defense doesn't play like that, they might get beat by 2 scores. With the potential that Jalen Milroe has with the ball in his hand. But man, that defense, they were unstoppable, and I cannot wait to see them play Washington. Something's got to give, because Washington's offense is amazing. Michigan's defense is amazing. It's going to be, a rock and a hard place going at it together.
Absolutely. And what a great segue, because you go from the hard-nosed, gritty, gridiron, backyard, basically brawl that the Rose Bowl was, just back to the traditional Rose Bowl fight, slugfest, over to the most high-powered offense in college football this year in Washington, taking on Texas in a game that was literally all Washington for like 3.5 quarters of this thing, but Texas was able to just hang around. They were hanging around. And then at the end, Quinn Ewers makes some great plays, some fantastic passes. Their receiver goes up and snatches, again, one of the best passes, best catches of the year, out of the air, right over the cornerback's head, to get this game within 6. Washington gets the ball back. And it looks like, it's probably over. Texas is going to get the ball back with 15 seconds left. It's probably over. Not so fast, my friend. The Washington running back goes down with an injury. Washington has to call a timeout. 45 seconds left on the clock for Texas. They march right down the field. It looks like they may score. They may win this game 38-37. They throw another jump ball to the same receiver in the backcourt of the end zone, but the corner was ready, timed it perfect, and said, "Not in my house. Not in my house." Washington goes on to win 37-31. What an amazing game. Jerry, how good is Michael Penix? I mean, how is this guy? In my opinion, he's probably top 3 quarterback off the draft board, right? I mean, I would say personally, no, you'll get a lot of flack for this. You're supposed to draft Caleb Williams. I like Michael Penix better than Caleb Williams. Just the way he throws the ball. That's me personally.
Yeah.
That's me personally. Hot take.
I might jump on that
That's
train
hot.
with you. I might jump on that train with you.
Nah, Jaden Daniels should take that Heisman, drive to Seattle, Washington, and hand deliver it to Michael
No,
Penix Jr. Here, this is
I need
yours.
Jaden. I
This is
need Jaden
yours.
Daniels to give me $1,000.
True. No, Michael Penix, dude. I mean, just what a story. First of all, so many injuries he's had to battle since he was at Indiana and then transferred over to Washington. And dude, over 400 yards and what, 2 touchdowns, I believe. I think he had two, and no, sorry, he had three.
Two.
He, had,
No, too.
he only had two.
Two.
Okay, he only had two.
Trust me
His running
too,
back had
because I
two.
had a parlay of 3+ touchdowns with him. And that was the only part of my bet that missed. But anyway, continue.
Unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. No,
I
he's
would say put him on the board, but we can't do that after that performance.
yeah, he's incredible. He's definitely going to be a special player in the NFL, I think. It's also interesting to see how old this class is compared to last year's class. They're older by 3 years. Another player that I don't think is being talked about enough in the coming up in the NFL draft. I alluded to it earlier, but Rome Odunze, I'm unsure how to pronounce it. He's freaking good. He is freaking good, man. He might be the number 2 receiver behind Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. Duke can ball.
He's widely considered number 2 or 3. Malik Neighbors is the sometimes like
yeah.
But no, I can't disagree. He's absolutely fantastic. But that entire offense is just like it's unbelievable when you watch. And Jason and I were watching on the stream together. We were talking a little bit. When you watch him throw the ball, it reminds me, as funny enough as it is, and as hilarious as we've talked about him as much as we have, but it's Joe Flacco-esque in that he throws this ball. It's so pretty. First of all, comes out of his hand so pretty, but more importantly, it's so catchable. It's always got the right leverage. It's always on the right part of the shoulder, and the ball is that right in between of speed where it gets there fast enough that the defender can't get to it, but it's not so fast that the receiver can't catch it. And it's so easy. It looks. I mean, obviously, I am not a 4.4 speed running wide receiver in college football, but it looks like it's one of those
4.5.
balls that the ball almost catches you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's absolutely incredible to watch. And I mean, he drops back, man, and you just can see he's looking downfield, and then he just cocks it back, and boom, the ball's gone. You know, out of his hand in this beautiful deep ball, and it's incredible to watch, and it's going to be fun to watch. When you talk about Texas, you know, it's what they've done this season is very impressive with Quinn Ewers, and they look like they've turned their program around. You know, their one weakness was their pass defense, which showed up.
We talked about that last week. We
Yeah.
we got that one right. We
Yeah.
got that one right.
We did 1 for 50 this year, but Jason, you know, I really thought that the Longhorns, good Lord, I was running through all the Texas teams in my head there. I really thought the Longhorns were going to be able to really control a time of possession better with their run game and dominate the line of scrimmage a little bit more. And Sweat did have a really good game on the D line, but what was it about Washington's offense that was able to, and defense, that was able to keep them ahead, did you think, when you were watching the game?
A lot of it has to do with Washington's offensive line. I think Washington offensive line is 1 or 2 in the nation right now. I mean, Michigan, Washington both have the conversation for that. And you just
For
look at
different reasons too, right?
Yeah,
When you say,
yeah,
like,
correct.
best run
But
blocking
yeah,
offensive line, Michigan, best
exactly.
pass blocking. Go ahead, sorry.
No. You're good. Exactly. That being said, even when the pocket breaks down, the composure that Penix has is ridiculous. He steps up, he jukes a guy out, he runs if he needs to. He's still looking for players, and both teams have good weapons at wide receiver. But I mean, Washington, 1, 2, and 3, like all NFL players, and they showed it. They definitely showed it. So, I think Texas wasn't able to get to the quarterback as much as they wanted to, and they were also able to run when they needed to. So Washington was able to run when they needed to. So I think that was what put them above Texas.
What a great game What a great game on both ends. And the national championship game, Michigan versus Washington. Michigan 4.5 point favorites. Quick here to finish out the show. Jason, who do you got? You've disappeared.
Give me
There you
Washington.
go. Is that
Give me
John Cena?
Washington.
I
I
didn't know
think
John Cena was on our.
I think Washington is going to be the only team to outscore Michigan. And the reason because again their offensive line can't hold that front seven. They have receivers to beat the weapon or the DBs that Michigan has. I do believe Washington is going to be able to outscore. I think this will be a shootout, and I don't think that's Michigan's game. So that is why I'm going Washington. Upset alert. No hate.
Gary, don't do
I
what I
was,
think you're gonna
dude,
do.
I was gonna go Washington. And I'm gonna stick with them. Give me Washington. Michael Penix, 400 yards on the Michigan offense or on the Michigan defense. I'm gonna make Ryan do it. I'm gonna make him do the worst thing that an Ohio State
Wearing
fan can
this.
imagine.
Wearing this.
Yeah, I couldn't do it either. I couldn't do it either.
Yeah, give me Washington. Michael Penix, the experienced dog. The Huskies, their last year in the Pac-12. The Pac-12's last year. They're going to win the Natty. They're going to take it home. Jason said it best. The offensive line is too good. The only reason Michigan beats Alabama is because of how good their defense was. We said it earlier. Not so fast. Michael Penix.
Fast.
Give it to him. Give him the Heisman, damn it. On to you,
I
Ryan.
want to make things very clear as we close out this amazing episode on the first episode of 2024. I do not want Michigan to win. I want Michigan to lose. Actually, if Michigan winning means Harbaugh leaves, maybe. But on a real note, I do not want Michigan to win. I want Michigan to lose by 100. I want them to be embarrassed like they were embarrassed by TCU last year. I want them to go back to being the laughing stock of the big programs in the Big Ten. It doesn't seem like that last one's going to happen. Having said all of that, on an objective level, I think Michigan is the better team. You saw blunders in the special teams that does not happen to Michigan in the Alabama game, and they were still able to overcome them. If you were going to say, hey, the team that Nick Saban's playing is going to have a bunch of special teams issues, they're going to miss an extra point, they're going to miss a field goal, they're going to drop 2 punts, you would say, yeah, Alabama's going to win by 20. Michigan still won that football game, which just shows the resiliency of this team and how deep they are across the board and how good they are across the board. I think when you have a team that is as porous on defense as Washington can sometimes be, and you have a team that is as dominant on the line of scrimmage, especially the offensive line of scrimmage, as Michigan, I think they're going to be able to control the clock. I think they're going to be able to score with Blake Corum at will. And then I think that's going to open it up for J.J. McCarthy to hit it over the top. And I just think at the end of the day, Michigan is the more complete team. And as much as I would love to see Washington win this game, and I think it's going to be good, I think it's going to be close. I think Michigan is the better team and will likely win this game. But again, not hoping for that. Not hoping for that. But thanks everyone for joining us here on the Unnamed Sports Show. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. This has been by far our longest show, so if you've stuck with us the whole time, we really appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube after or wherever you find your podcasts after, we thank you for listening. We appreciate all of the support. Please make sure to like, subscribe, listen to us, and follow us on our social media at Unnamed Sports S. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So thank you guys again for listening, and we will see you next week.
Peace out.